Hello and welcome to Spine Chillers and Serial Killers Halloween Special. I'm Emma and I'm with Becky, who's not in the intro because for some reason her computer didn't record it. As you will see, this is the cursed episode.
And it is just me and Becky because I made a massive cock up and the original recording of this episode got deleted and lost forever. So Tash, bless her, was here for the original and she's not anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's just a cursed episode because everything keeps going wrong.
It is.
There was that. My computer.
Becky's computer wouldn't turn on.
No matter how much I dirty talked to it, it wasn't turning on. And it's still not playing very much, but it's kind of getting there. It's waking up. It just needs to sort itself out.
Yeah. So, yes, we seem to have a ghost in the system. Everything's bugging, but we'll get there. We do have some spooky tales for you for this Halloween special, though. So, get cozy. Look at a pumpkin or something seasonal.
Have a pumpkin spice latte, if you like that.
Did you know, I've never had pumpkin spice.
It is quite nice. I mean, I wouldn't be able to drink it every time. But I get why they're popular. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get our spooky hats on. And hope you enjoy these stories. In Europe, we are renowned for our architecture and most specifically our castles. We love a big dramatic looking building nowadays. But back when they were built, it was of course for protection reasons. A castle would be a fortress, hopefully impenetrable, and able to protect its residents from an outside attack. However, the castle we are talking about today is strange as the basic rules of building a castle don't seem to have been used here.
No.
Never a good start, is it, if you're building a dodgy castle?
No.
Why are you building a dodgy castle? Huska Castle was built in the 13th century in the Czech Republic, which was known as Bohemia. And it's around 30 miles from Prague. The 13th century is a stupidly long time ago.
It is. Because when we're thinking about history, it usually goes up to the 18th century, and anything before that's just a bit too far away. So that's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. It's very, very old. As any, spooky castle should be, really. Do people build castles nowadays? Do we get modern castles?
I think there are a few one of the eccentrics. They must be out there building probably palaces rather than castles. I don't know.
Castles.
When we were looking for houses, there was a real castle-looking house that was a new build. It was very, very fancy schmancy, but super tacky at the same time. Yeah, I did take some screenshots. I wonder if I've still got them.
I think we should bring castle building back. Bring it back. We need the trend of castles.
You never know if you're going to be invaded. You need the staircase so that you can swing your sword.
And think about it. Eventually, right, these castles will not exist anymore. And I know they've stood for hundreds and hundreds of years, but eventually they will not exist. And then those generations, well, they won't have castles.
I know. It's sad, isn't it?
It is. Bring back castle building.
Shall we petition outside of Parliament? Bring back our castles!
I think we should.
Two mentals outside. we are in France. You could buy a chateau. You're more likely to be able to buy one here. I mean,
You could.
I don't know where we get the money from, but we could. It's an option.
Would you live in one?
Probably not. I expect the heating bill would be terrible.
Is that the sole reason? Because, like, literally, I wouldn't because of ghosts. Like, standard, it's a chateau. No.
It depends. Some of them look really nice, but I think I would freak myself out.
You know that, like, quick up the stairs wee you have to have when it's pitch dark in the middle of the night? Imagine doing that in a fucking castle when there's, like, 3
Stone
flights
stairs.
of stairs. Oh, you'd be fit, wouldn't you?
Oh, but you could wear a blanket and go down the stairs and your blanket would flutter behind you like a cape. I'd feel very important.
That would be very dramatic. A dramatic wee. A dramatic
wee. And then as you go running down the stairs, the music goes... You know, like in Snow White when the Queen runs down the stairs. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Anyway.
I mean, we could do it, Emma. I just need to win the lottery.
We could. What, and just,
But we
like,
wouldn't live
have
there.
a wing each?
Yeah, or we could have it as like a little holiday home, but none of us would actually stay there because we'd be too scared.
Right.
We could record from there. Right, let's get off that. Let's get back to the story.
We could record from there. I want to record one episode in a haunted house. Definitely.
Oh, God.
Mwahaha. She says, I would be the first to shit myself at the slightest paranormal thing.
Well, this podcast would have to take off and we'd have to get a lot of money from it for that. But it definitely happen. If this takes off, absolutely.
Yeah.
You never know.
If you make us famous, we promise we will go into haunted locations and poo our pants. There we go.
Yeah, definitely. More entertainment. We're all for that.
So this particular castle was built in a highly wooded area with no strategic position, no access to running water except a large cistern that captured rainwater, no kitchen, and was far from any trade routes to get its supplies from. Also, bizarrely, some of its windows were fake. From far away, you would think it's covered in windows, but no. No, Becky, no.
It's not covered in windows.
On closer inspection, some are just a pane of glass placed directly onto a solid wall.
That would upset me so much if I saw that. You just think,
It's just
oh my
weird.
God.
Unnerving.
Oh, well. Yeah.
What a waste of a pane of glass.
I know. You could have just painted the windows on.
Could have done, but, you know. It had fortification-like small windows for archers, but they were facing inwards instead of outwards, which is disturbing.
Ooh.
In fact, all the fortifications seem to have been built backwards, giving the impression that Huska Castle was built to keep something in instead of keeping something out.
No.
The official use of the castle was built as an administrative centre to oversee the management of royal estates. But that doesn't explain why it was built fortified from the out in. So my paranormal brain is saying, no, that's not true, and I'm going to go with all the folklore that surrounds the castle, that it was in fact built to cover, are you ready for this? A gateway to hell.
Oh! I was thinking more an ogre or something like an orc, like of Lord of the Rings. Keeping that in there.
Or a dragon.
Or a dragon.
Yep. But no, a gateway to hell. And I think we can all agree that that is indeed much more plausible than an administrative centre to oversee the management of royal estates.
Yeah, especially how you've just described it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before the castle was built, an opening suddenly appeared in the mountain, letting out all sorts of nightmarish beasts that would come and rip the local farm animals to shreds. People reported seeing black-winged creatures flying around the hole and seeing strange hybrid human/animal creatures strolling around. The most famous was the man cross-frog, cross-dog. I have a visual for you actually, Becky.
Ooh, because I haven't seen what this could look like.
So I've got a few visual aids here.
Is this AI doing this, or is this from the internet?
No, this is AI. I will post them to our Facebook page so everybody can see them.
Don't you love the older generation being confused by AI on Facebook? It's like a picture of a really obviously AI child going, "No one came to my birthday party. Thumbs up for America," or something like that. And it's just like this kid, like really upset, but it's really obviously AI, and everyone's like, "Oh no, oh my god, no, it looks like a pug. Why has it got a dog's nose?
Well,
Why
because
is it so
it's
muscly?
a man, cross frog, cross bulldog.
Oh, cross bulldog. I missed the bulldog part. Why has it got a
I think I just said
six-pack, though?
dog, but it was in fact a bulldog.
Why has it got a six-pack?
Is the next one?
Oh, that's freaky. Did you give it the same prompt but make it scary?
Yeah. Okay. And one more.
Well, that's quite scary as well.
Yeah. Jowly Frogman.
Jowly Frogman.
So, yeah, all in all, I think we can agree that if we saw that roaming around, we'd be scared.
Yeah. Well, any of those, I wouldn't have really liked them. The first one are probably the most, friendly looking of the bunch, but wouldn't want to cross him either.
Of course, the people near the hole were terrified and started throwing stuff in the cavern to block it up. Because that's what you do, you just throw stuff in.
Yeah.
But no matter what they put down there, the hole just seemed to swallow it up and remained very much open.
Slag.
The next logical thing to do was to stick someone down the hole. Of course it is.
Obviously.
Let's put someone down the hole.
We need to know how deep it goes.
I could just imagine all these crone villagers. Stick him in.
Stick him in. Choose the one that we like the least.
Yeah. So they wanted to stick someone down there to find out what was in it. The opening seemed to be bottomless, as when they threw all their stuff in there, they never heard it hit the bottom. Strangely enough, nobody seemed to be up for the task.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't want to go down there either.
No, being lowered into a bottomless pit where demonic creatures crawl out of sounds like a fantastic opportunity to me, but alas, no volunteers came forward.
Nah.
The villagers decided the only people who would be willing to try would be prisoners on death row. They were told that if they made it down there and came back up and told everyone what the deal was, that they'd be freed. So, of course, this choice was a lot more successful, and soon enough, they were lowering down a young man into the pit. At first, he was silent, but after a few minutes, he began screaming the most blood-curdling scream you can imagine. And begging to be brought up. When he reached the top, he looked nothing like himself. All his hair had turned bright white, and his face was covered in wrinkles. He had aged at least 30 years, and sadly had lost his mind, so he was unable to tell anybody what he had seen. He died 2 days later in an insane asylum.
Poor dude.
So that was a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
So they decided, we need to build a castle on top of this to stop them crawling out.
This is obviously, yeah.
And we're going to put a chapel right on top of the hole because that seems like the good thing to do.
The seal.
Chapel is dedicated to the Archangel Michael, who is known for his combats with the devil. Coincidence? I think not. The murals and frescoes are not what you would expect and do not depict the usual biblical images, but instead they show dragons, demonic creatures, and pagan rituals. Which is, this is really odd for the time.
Yeah.
There is an image of a woman centaur, a mythological creature using a bow and arrow. She is depicted as being left-handed, which back then was a sign of evil.
Oh, poor left-handed people.
I know. My little girl's left-handed. She's not
I wasn't
evil.
sure whether you were. I was going to say, are you left-handed?
No, not me, but yeah, she is. So this is the earliest representation of a centaur in a church that we know of. So where did they see it? Where did they get the idea from? How did they even know what a centaur was? Could it be possibly linked to the headless horse that people reported walking around with blood gushing out of its neck like a fountain? I think so. I think that's where they got that.
Yeah.
Amongst other strange paranormal sightings are a line of dishevelled-looking prisoners chained to one another, all with horrendous wounds. They're being led towards the castle and guarded by a huge bulldog. People who have witnessed this have said the vision lasted for several minutes and left them unable to move with fear.
Oh. Were bulldogs more vicious back then? Because bulldogs now are like little jam roly-polies.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the theme is here with the bulldog.
I don't know. I reckon it was a bit more scarier back then when it could actually do the job that it was supposed to do. We've just breeded all that out of it.
Yeah, probably. The castle was owned by multiple people over the centuries and finally bought in 1924 by Senator Joseph Simonek, who is the president of Skoda, or he was the president of Skoda. He began restoring the castle to use as a summer residence. Of course, yeah, perfect for the summer
what
holes.
we're going to do when we win the lottery. We don't have a car empire, so...
This wasn't, however, the end to the castle's eerie history, as during the Second World War it was overtaken by the Nazis, who apparently were using its paranormal reputation to experiment. So it is actually said that the Nazis were obsessed with the supernatural and were trying to harness its power to rule over the world.
I reckon that could be its own episode, like Nazi,
but I've never really looked into it, but I shall.
Do it. I've heard that they're into a lot of horrible stuff, be it paranormal
Spooky
or
stuff.
not. But yeah, they were proper into that.
Locals reported hearing strange sounds and seeing bizarre lights coming from the castle during this time. And after the war, the bodies of 3 Nazi soldiers were found within the castle's walls. Cause of death is unknown, but it is believed that they died during the interdimensional experiments that were being carried out inside.
Well, 3 dead Nazis in the walls, castle walls.
3 dead Nazis.
In the castle.
After the war, the castle was once more occupied by the Simonek family, and they still own it to this day. They made it open to the public in 1999. People who visit the castle say that it brings bad luck, cars won't start near its walls, and a terrible foreboding feeling is felt all around. In the chapel, screams and scratching can be heard coming from beneath the floor, as if the demonic entities are still trying to claw their way out. And, just for fun, it is also haunted by a multitude of ghosts and poltergeists. To name a few, an old woman, a headless man, a black faceless monk, and a plethora of shadow people. All in all, I think we can agree that Houska Castle is creepy as fuck.
Yes.
And if you like that type of thing, you should absolutely add it to your paranormal bucket list of places to visit. What did you think then of Houska?
I don't think, just for the car trouble alone, we have had a bout of car trouble recently, so I don't want any more. Thank you.
I mean, of course, you've always got to be sceptical with stuff like this. But why would they build it backwards? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's freaky.
Yeah, and with no obvious purpose, because, yeah, it's got no strategic purpose whatsoever. Nobody lived there. I mean, it didn't even have a kitchen. It's very strange. And I think all the drawings on the inside of the chapel, very bizarre as well. Yeah, it's an enigma, a very spooky enigma. I have just got one other little castle to talk about. This is a Halloween story for you.
Ooh.
So this time we're at Loftus Hall. So Loftus Hall was built in the 13th century, and like a lot of places in Ireland, it has more than its fair share of creepy stories. This one starts with the Tottingham family, who moved into the hall in the 18th century. Charles Tottenham, his second wife, and his daughter Anne from his previous marriage. But then, as these things go, something very strange happened. It was a dark and stormy night because, Of course it was.
I just did a lightning effect. Did you hear it?
I did. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, thanks.
And a stranger showed up at the door, looking for shelter from the storm. Now let's pause for a second. The night in question was during Samhain, the ancient Celtic festival that marked the end of harvest and the beginning of winter, a time when the veil between the living and the dead was thought to become thin, and all sorts of weird stuff could happen. Nowadays, we call this...
Halloween!
Halloween!
Halloween. There we are.
So, back to the story. Storm raging outside. It's Halloween, and there's a stranger asking to come in. So what do the Tottenhams do? Naturally, they invited the guy in, because what could go wrong, right?
Shouldn't do that. Especially if someone says, do you want to invite me in? Be like, no, bitch, you a vampire. Be gone.
I'm actually binge watching the Vampire Diaries again. So, yeah.
Hot.
Don't let him in.
Nah.
Did you ever watch the Vampire Diaries?
No. I keep wanting to, but no. Is it a bit cringe now, though?
It is a little bit, but I can kind of see past it because Damon, the guy who plays Damon Salvatore, is very, very hot.
Yeah, okay then. If we can see past the cringe, it's not too bad. Did you ever watch Twilight, Emma? I've never been one for Twilight.
No, I've watched Twilight. I actually really like Twilight. I mean, it's got its cringy bits.
But when you watch it again, it is quite cringy, isn't it? I do like Twilight, but yeah.
Her facial expressions are terrible.
That's what she was like, though. She was like that in real life. She was like, it's more...
that bit in the woods, yeah, that's
wolf
bad.
Bit. And the bit like, as if you can outrun me. And then Jasper like...
Yeah, poor Jasper looks like he's pooed his pants the entire way through the film.
Yeah, it looks like he's about to shit himself throughout the whole film. But yeah, it's still fun.
Anyway, so they haven't watched the Vampire Diaries, the Tottenham family, and they said, yeah, sure, come in.
They're missing out.
The stranger seemed charming enough, and after a few days, he was playing cards with the family, especially winning over young Anne. But then, during one game, Anne dropped a card on the floor. When she bent down to grab it, she looked under the table, and she saw something that made her blood run cold. The man didn't have normal feet. Oh no, he had cloven hooves.
Ugh.
Yep,
Devil.
Hooves. This guy wasn't just a mysterious traveller, he was a freaking devil in disguise.
And also, he'd been staying there for days.
Yeah.
Just, hello, I need shelter from the storm, now I'm just going to move in and live with you.
Back then, they didn't have cars and shit, did they? So, like, everything was really far away. So if you went somewhere, you kind of chilled for a few days. So let's just say it's normal that he's stayed for a bit.
Okay.
Anne screamed, as one would. And in a flash, the stranger shot straight up through the ceiling in a blaze of fire, cackling maniacally. Exactly like that, leaving a massive hole that, legend has it, could never be properly repaired.
God damn it.
Poor heartbroken Anne. Her crush had turned out to be quite literally a demon.
Oh dear.
This caused the poor woman to lose her mind. A lot of people going mental because of demons in my stories.
I think it's just the brain can only comprehend so much.
Yeah. She became reclusive, refusing to eat or leave her room. Her family, likely not knowing what to do with her, shut her up in the tapestry room, and that's where she stayed until she died. But as you might have guessed, that wasn't the end of Anne. Her spirit is said to still haunt Loftus Hall, wandering the halls, especially in that tapestry room, where she spent her final days. Visitors to the hall have reported seeing her staring out of the window or hearing her restless footsteps echoing through the rooms, waiting patiently for her cloven-hooved stranger to come and whisk her away.
Ugh.
I know. She still wants to go there.
Sure. The whole half animal thing didn't put her off.
Do you know, have you seen the Hear Me Out cakes?
No.
Have you not seen?
Oh yeah, where they're like, where you put like a crush on like something that you've seen in a cartoon. Like someone put Simba in there. Is it that?
Yeah, so basically you get a cake and then you get images of people or things that you're attracted to that need an explanation, like, hang on, hear me out. A bit like me with Robin Hood from Disney.
Yeah.
Or you with your Dragon Ball Z crush. So,
you remembered.
So Anne's hear me out cake would be, hear me out, cloven hoof stranger.
Yeah. Oh, bless her. Get her a cake. It'll probably let her pass on her spirit once she can explain, like, hey, hear me out.
Hear me out. Yeah.
Just put a load of cloven hooves on there. Okay.
But Anne isn't the only ghost in Loftus Hall. There are many reports of ghostly encounters, cold spots, eerie noises, and shadows moving where no one should be.
Oh.
Loftus Hall eventually fell into disrepair. See, this is why we need more castles.
Yeah. We're going to lose them all.
Yep, because honestly, who wants to live in a house where the devil once crashed a card game? Over the centuries, it passed through various owners, was turned into a convent and then a hotel, which I'm sure were terrifying equally. None of those places seemed like they wouldn't be spooky.
No.
But nobody could shake off the eerie vibes. The hall remained abandoned for years, which only made it creepier. Nowadays, Loftus Hall has been restored and, it's been restored, so we've still got it.
Yay! I suppose.
Yay. And open to the public. Why am I surprised by my own story?
Yeah.
It's because it's been like a few days since I read it.
I feel like you're reading a whole new story all over again. This is the story that Emma has already told me this story. Yeah, I've forgotten nearly all of it.
So it's now open to the public and it does ghost tours and paranormal investigations.
Ooh.
Visitors flock to experience a haunted atmosphere for themselves.
I wonder if they'll let us record a podcast there.
Oh, fuck that. I'm not going there. Because who wouldn't want to spend a night in a place where Satan once played cards? Me. That's who. Me.
Well, what happens if we go there, we record, and you're accidentally sat in the same place as the cloven-hooved baddie and you get shot through the ceiling?
That would suck.
Yeah. The hospital bills alone would be very annoying. I wonder if you can put that through your insurance. Oh yeah, the devil came down and threw my friend through the ceiling. Can we claim on that? It'd be an act. It wouldn't be an act of God. It'd be the act of devil. So should be covered.
So, well, they should technically. They can't discriminate.
I suppose they can't. Thank you very much, Emma Kins.
You're quite welcome, Becky Kins.
Right.
Did that make you cringe?
It did.
Becky Kins.
Becky Kins, it's horrible. Right.
Becky has a little treat, actually, for us.
Yes. So, because it's Halloween, Emma has sent me one of her spooky stories to read instead of a murder this week.
But new people won't have heard this, but the hardcore serial chillers will have heard this because this is our first ever spooky story.
Really?
Yeah, it's the first one we ever did, and it's now been taken off our catalogue because the sound was terrible.
Oh, we were so scared.
And we were so scared. But now you get to listen to it again. So, surprise! Happy Halloween!
Ooh. And maybe everyone would have forgotten anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, if they're like us, they'll forget.
Absolutely, I can't remember it.
Right, so buckle in, everyone.
Also, just before you start,
Yeah?
my computer that never bugs has been bugging non-stop all the way through that story. So I'm hoping very hard that it's not affected anything.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, it's incredible. This is a cursed episode.
It is. I'm really sorry again for the place names that I'm about to butcher. Maybe Emma can help. Maybe you remember.
Oh, yeah, I remember over 100 episodes ago, sure.
Yeah, the 2 years? Something like that.
This is May 2021 we did this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, so the story this week is The Exorcism of Roland Doe. The true story of the Roland Doe exorcism goes back to the late 1940s in Cottage City, Maryland, a small, quaint community on the Anacostia River.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's how it's spelt anyway. Not far from Washington, D.C. A 14-year-old boy, Roland Doe, which is his pseudonym. Roland was born in 1935. He was an only child. This meant he relied on his parents and mostly his aunt to occupy him and play with him. Roland was very close to his aunt, who was a spiritualist, and introduced him to a Ouija board.
As
Maybe
you
you
do.
shouldn't have done that. The cool aunt. Now the cool aunt just takes you out on like shopping trips, whereas back then...
Ouija board.
Introduced you to a Ouija board.
Let's contact some dead people.
Yeah. Just make sure that we say bye-bye afterwards and close the board properly. She died suddenly, very sadly, and Roland was left quite distraught. So he attempted to contact her multiple times using the Ouija board. There is no evidence that he ever made contact with her, but strange things started to happen in the household. Following Aunt Harriet's death, the family experienced strange noises. They started to hear a weird dripping noise, but couldn't find any leaky pipes. They pinpointed the noise to coming above the grandma's bedroom, in the attic. So they just put it down to it being a leaky tap. There was a strange scratching noise that could be heard every night at 7 p.m. They located the noise as coming from underneath the grandmother's bed.
Gross.
What's the grandmother doing? Scratching and dripping.
Yeah. That's disgusting.
Oh! Oh, poor grandma. So the scratching was coming from underneath the grandmother's bed, so they just assumed that it was a rodent of some type. So far, I see why they wrote all this off.
Yeah.
They got an exterminator in, but they couldn't find any proof of there being rats or mice in the house. So this happened every night until around midnight for 11 days. Then the noise moved from the grandma's room to Roland's. Furniture started moving on its own accord, and ordinary objects such as vases started flying or levitating whenever the boy was nearby. Starting to get a bit freaky now.
Yeah, that's not normal. That's disconcerting.
Yeah. It's not scratching and dripping. It's levitating now. The noises changed from scratching to thumping and banging.
Ooh.
Grandma, what are you doing?
Come on, we're ruining the spooky atmosphere.
Yeah. Right, let me start that again.
No.
The noises.
She's thumping and banging.
Yeah, she's scratching and dripping, rubbing and banging. Oh, Grandma. So the noises changed now to thumping and banging. And there was one occasion that a picture of JC started moving and banging against the wall. Who's JC?
Jesus?
Oh Jesus Christ. Are you on first name terms with Jesus, Emma? He pushed by his initials. Oh, JC! It's your girl, Emma. What up, man? Can you just check on my grandma, please? Right. Right. So on one occasion, a picture of Jesus started moving and banging against the wall. During all this time, Roland was apparently spending hours every day trying to contact his aunt through the Ouija board. So I think Roland's getting a bit obsessed.
Yeah.
His mother also began to believe that the weird activity was from the aunt. So one night, they decided to ask her some questions. So his mum, grandma, and Roland all lied down on Roland's bed. Weird. And his mother asked out loud, "Are you there? If you are, bang 3 times." And all 3 of them felt a swoosh of air pass over them 3 times, followed by 3 faint bangs. My husband's going to run in the moon and be like, what do you want? What is it?
I want a wheat cup of tea, you dickhead.
Yeah, don't you dare bring me a cup of tea like last time. She wanted to confirm, so she asked out loud again, if you are Helen, knock 4 times. This time they felt the same thing. Some air whooshes, followed by bangs. Exactly 4 times.
Do, do, do.
The scratching noise then returned, only this time it was coming from inside the mattress.
Fuck's sake, Granny. Your grandson's right next to you, Jesus.
Stop. Yeah, go get some cream.
Sorry, right, go on.
So the scratching was coming from inside the mattress.
Oh, I don't like that. Ooh.
And they could all feel something moving underneath them.
That's horrible.
So they all jumped up. Yeah. The mattress started to then shake slowly, then more violently, and then it stopped. Then the 4 corners of the tucked sheet that was on the bed shot out from under the mattress and curled up, making the sheet look hard. As soon as the mother touched one of the corners of the sheet, it flopped down again back normal. So it all shot out and it was all
rigid.
Hard, rigid. And then as soon as the mother touched it, it just floated back down and was a sheet again.
It's pretty strange.
Yes. As if that wasn't strange enough, the strange things that were happening began to get worse as soon as Roland was around. Even one time at school, where apparently the desk he was sat at began to launch itself around the class, banging into other students' desks. That's a bit freaky. I think I would
not enjoy that.
No. I mean, a desk flying around. I'd be most alarmed. Roland himself began to be withdrawn and depressed. He was also extremely tired from being kept up all night by scratching noises.
Bloody Granny.
One time he was sat in a big armchair when it suddenly began to move and shake, and then it eventually levitated off the ground and tipped Roland out onto the floor. His dad and his uncle, who witnessed this, both tried to replicate the movement of the chair to prove that Roland was playing a trick on them. But neither of them could, and both said that the chair was far too heavy to move the way it had. I think the whole levitating part would kind of be like, I don't think he was faking that.
I don't think
Unless you can see the strings. Levitating is, even if you are really strong, it's hard to pick up your chair if you sat on it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. When Roland could actually sleep, he'd begun to sleepwalk, something that he'd never previously done. And what he said was horrible and apparently very out of character. The family, who were Lutherans, contacted their local pastor, Luther Miles Schultz. The pastor, who was really interested in parapsychology, asked the mother and Roland to spend a night at his house. He thought that if Roland was making it up, it would be more difficult in an unfamiliar setting. Roland shared a room with the pastor.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. And the mother slept in a guest room. Schultz was awoken at around 3 a.m. Ooh. Witching. Is it the witching hour?
It is.
Ghosty hour. Ghosty toasty. The pastor was awoken around 3 a.m. by a lot of noise. And when he looked at Roland's bed, he could see the whole thing was shaking. Schultz then tells Roland to get out and go and sit in the large armchair in the room. The bed instantly stops shaking, but then the chair starts tipping and keeps tipping until Roland is on the floor again. Schultz said he saw the whole thing, and Roland did not move at all until he hit the ground. In fact, that he looked like he was in a kind of a trance. He decides to get a blanket and set Roland up sleeping on the floor, thinking this was the safest option. But shortly after, Roland and his blanket started to slide across the floor, going under one of the single beds.
I don't like that.
No, that's horrible. I don't know how you can read scary stuff because it makes me laugh when I'm scared. I'm like, I don't like that.
I don't
pulled
like that.
under the bed. Oh, it's a bit like The Grudge, isn't it?
Oh, fuck off with that.
Once his body was entirely under the bed, he started to slam into the metal springs under the bed repeatedly. Oh, Roland. Oh, horrible. Schultz pulled him out and saw that he was covered in bloody scratches from the springs, but he never made a noise. He was still in a trance. Schultz tells the family to find a Catholic priest because, quote, the Catholics know about things like this.
Yeah, they do.
They're into all that.
Yeah.
Love a bit of this.
They'll deal with it.
They get in touch with a Catholic priest called Edward Hughes, and he attempts an exorcism on Roland at the Georgetown Hospital. This goes pretty badly, as Roland manages to get a hand free from his restraints and grabs a bed spring from under the mattress and opens up Hughes' arm from the shoulder right down to the wrist. Ow!
That's
He needs
unpleasant.
over 100 stitches and understandably doesn't want any more to do with the boy. So Hughes has got the ump.
Yeah.
He's not doing that.
Well, you would, to be fair.
Well, yeah, to be fair. The mother, who was originally from St. Louis, had said multiple times that a change of scenery could do Roland some good. And one night, scratches appear over Roland's body that read Louis. That was all French then. That read Louis.
Yeah, but do they say St. Louis or do they say St. Louis?
I think they say St. Louis in America. Could be wrong though. So it read Louis on it, in the scratches. So it's decided that it's a sign for the right thing to do. I would have kind of taken that the wrong way. That I'd been like, oh, if the devil, whatever thing, nasty thing, wants them to go to Louis, I would be like, probably don't want to take him.
Yeah, let's not.
But then I suppose it's one of those, could it be worse? So anyway, so the family goes to stay with relatives in St. Louis, and are put in touch with another priest, Raymond Bishop. So Bishop, who in turn spoke to William S. Bowden, an associate of the college church. Together, both priests visited Roland in his relative's home, where they allegedly observed a shaking bed, flying objects, and the boy was speaking in a guttural voice and exhibiting an aversion to anything sacred. Also, shout out to the family members. Did they know this was going on?
I mean, I remember this from when I wrote the script, and I was thinking, can you imagine if, like, your sister got in touch and was like, look, my son's a bit possessed. Do you mind if we come and stay? And
He shakes beds.
Yeah, I love my family, but I'd be like, can we not get a hotel?
Yeah. So Bowden was granted permission from the Archbishop to perform another exorcism. The exorcism took place at the Alexian Brothers Hospital in South St. Louis. Before the next exorcism ritual began, another priest, Walter Halloran, was called to the psychiatric wing of the hospital. The exorcism took place at the Alexian Brothers Hospital in South St. Louis. Before the next exorcism ritual began, another priest, Walter Halloran, was called to the psychiatric wing of the hospital, where he was asked to assist Bowden. William Van Roo, a third priest, was also there to assist. But Roland was apparently absolutely fine during the day. It's only at night when things really kicked off. So that's when they would perform the exorcisms. And apparently would speak in a deep, husky voice, nothing like his own. He spoke sometimes in Latin, which Roland had no knowledge of. Freaky.
Yeah, it's when they start speaking in tongues, you're like,
yeah,
oh no.
Latin's not the one, is it?
It's not.
Like, I don't know, if you meet your husband, you think, oh, he speaks Spanish, such a lovely language. Oh, he speaks like, oh, he dreams and dream sleeps in Latin. I'll be like, well, no way. That's not sexy language. I don't want to accidentally summon demons in my sleep. His bed would shake uncontrollably. He would get covered in big red welts all over his body, and sometimes the scratches would spell out hell or evil. He would spit at the priests and urinate on the bed. He would mind masturbation, and most creepily of all, he would sing songs that he'd never heard of, and in perfect pitch, which apparently Roland couldn't do when he wasn't being possessed. Sometimes he would just sit and listen to the priests grinning and giggling at them. That'd freak me out as well. Don't be giggling.
Yeah, I don't like that. Smiling is such a weird thing because depending on how it's done, it can be like really nice and cheerful and reassuring, or it can be fucking terrifying.
Especially when it doesn't go up to the eyes.
Yeah.
Walter Halloran had his nose broken by the boy, although it's unclear how. This continued for months. During this time, the priest had been teaching Roland about being Catholic and eventually gave him his first Holy Communion, so that his conversion was then complete. Apparently attempted to strangle his mother in the car on the way to the Holy Communion, and it took all the strength of his dad and uncle to get him off her. So all this started on the 15th of January, 1949, and on the 1st of April, the boy is converted to Catholicism and is baptised at the college church rectory. Right, so yeah, the 1st of April, he converts to Catholicism and is baptised. The next day, he makes his first Holy Communion. And finally, on the 18th of April, the exorcism works and Roland says he's gone. Roland would then go on to live a completely normal life. The affair goes public after an article is published on the 20th of August in the Washington Post. And it's this article that inspires William Blackley to write The Exorcist, the book, which is later made into a film that we all know.
Yeah.
There we are. Well done, Emma, for that magnificent writing.
That was my first one, and well done for reading it so beautifully.
Stumbling through some of that, I do apologise.
No, it was perfect. You did well. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed our Halloween special. This will not disrupt our usual episode, so I think the next one will be coming out on Tuesday.
Yup. This is coming out on Halloween. Woo!
Yeah, look at us getting it out on the actual day.
Bish, bash, bosh.
As promised. Bish, bash, bosh.
Despite the world being against us.
Well, I haven't edited it yet. It might all go wrong. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Anyway, if you are going to a party or trick-or-treating or doing any other Halloween shenanigans, please stay safe.
Don't kill people, please, either.
And keep it weird.
Bye! La, 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 la.
From far away, from far away.
To be withdrawn and depressed. I need to burp. Oh, sorry. Oh, it was really soupy. We had a French onion soup.
Oh no, soupy burp.
It was so soupy. Taste it again. The true story of the Roland Doe
Good start.
Started already.
Good start.
Yeah. Wet my lips. Like old people. Moisten my mouth.
Put your teeth in.
Wet my whistle.
Oh, God.
Oh, that was horrible. I made myself cringe.